Welcome to B-Roll Matter Podcast. This is a show that dives into the art of storytelling through video and audio and its impact through various fields. I'm your host, Jamal Bransford, and today we set to uncover the power of storytelling through a whole new light. Welcome to B-Roll Matters. Today, the podcast where we explore people behind the scenes, the rhythm behind a story, and the details that always don't make the highlight reel. I'm your host, Jamal B. Today, I am honored to sit down with someone who's been shaping the way we can see in sports for over 15 years. He is a senior content researcher whose fingerprint has been all over college basketball game day, college football playoffs, and the NBA draft, and multiple men's Final Four. This is someone who lives within the details. It's about him bringing the facts to the broadcasters who make them shine, right? All right, so everyone, let's welcome my cuz, Gil Bransford. What's going on, man?
What's going on, cuz?
Hey, man. So, mentioning all those things, how does it feel that you have been involved in so many major moments?
Honestly, for me, man, it's surreal. Like, I'm sure, as you know, like growing up to do what you did, like you had people that you looked up to, and you had, dreams and aspirations. Like for me, like I grew up watching George Blaha, watching the Pistons and different things like that, and wanting to be a sports broadcaster. And then I kind of realized like that path might not necessarily, it's not necessarily for everybody. Like it's a 1%, 2% kind of deal. And so being able to kind of having an ability to find my mark, find my way in a different way, but still be in a sports space has been really cool. Starting out right out of college, 2009, I started out at ESPN in part-time. Within a year, I worked my way up, became full-time, did that for about close to 10 years. And then I transitioned over to research into like more of what I do now. So it's kind of been a surreal ride, just kind of seeing where everything is gone and the different things that I've got to work on and be a part of. Like I was there for Coach K's like final game, like at Cameron.
Dang,
like
dope.
And the somberness around the event, like part of me is just like, yo, like this is crazy. Like they weren't supposed to lose in North Carolina. And so like I'm relying on, things that I'm looking up to kind of help like figuring out what we're doing post game, like because obviously Coach K had his speech and Sports Center was kind of stuck on that, and it was like, all right, like how can we kind of encapsulate this while taking it all in? And I'm sitting there, I'm like, yo, like this moment is just somber. Like the crowd was upset. Coach, like you could tell Coach K was pissed. He's like, look, like this isn't obviously, you don't want to lose to your rival ever, but then your last ever home game in your gym.
Right.
Like you lose to your rival, when you're the better team, like, yeah. So definitely been fortunate enough to be a part of some crazy events. I think my first remote was the Joe Burrow, like 7 pass TD game, Oklahoma in the Peach Bowl, like where he went crazy in the first half. So yeah, man, it's been pretty surreal, just some of the things I've been able to be a part of.
Did you always know that you were going to be part of the researcher branch of sports, or was that always a dream, or what was your dream originally?
So the original dream, like I wanted to be a sports broadcaster similar to George Blaha. Like that was kind of who we grew up watching. The Pistons were like I was born in '85, so that 1990 era was like prime Pistons. And so my mom and my dad, like they got me going to Pistons games and different things like that. I was watching all the games on TV and hearing Blaha call the game. So like that was kind of what I was always interested in doing. Short of like playing, but not very many people can sustain that, long term.
Right.
So like at the time, like I wanted to be more a broadcaster. I didn't necessarily take the defined path of per se of what it was to be a sports. I didn't know what that path looked like actually at the time. I know I went to school to be a communications major to kind of figure it out and be more broad, I guess. Did some broadcasting for our sports women's basketball team over the radio. I did that for a little bit.
Okay.
And then I was fortunate enough in 2008, I think, NABJ was in Chicago, went to the conference. One of my good friends, Harold Shelton, was working with the network at the time. He introduced me to his bosses. I took a couple of assessments at the time. Found out that my sports knowledge wasn't as robust as it needed to be in research at the time, which is crazy. Like, like back then it was like, hey, like name the last 10 Wimbledon winners, name the last 10 Heisman Trophy winners. And like my just historical knowledge for sports just wasn't where it needed to be at the time to be in the department. But they did know that I had an acumen for sports. I at least had a passion and a knowledge for sports. They're like, hey, we have this other department, stats and analysis. They monitor a lot of the live games that are going on. Maybe it would be a great fit. It's part-time, but it might be a good fit for you. So right out of college, I moved out here to take that gig part-time. And then it kind of blossomed into a full-time role. And then in 2018, 19, I had managers that like had been in S&A or stats and analysis at the time, and then would ask me like, hey, like, you should make the move over to research. And I'm like, well, if I wasn't good enough back then to do it, what makes the difference now? Because I'm like, I'm not following tennis any more than I did back then.
Right.
But it was just more of a matter of like knowing where to find stuff, how to navigate and utilizing the resources that you have available to you to find the information. So that was kind of how that ended up working out.
So let me ask you this. So a lot of times people are like, oh man, I want to go work for ESPN. Or even when you introduce people to yourself and you say, well, what you do? Well, I work ESPN. How do you usually lead to like, oh, I'm a researcher? Like what's the face you normally get when people be like, oh, who or what? Like, what is that normally like for you?
So it's funny that the conversation usually is like, oh, you work for ESPN. Do you know such and such? And I'm like, maybe, probably not, just because of how big it is. Like, we have people that come in and freelance from, other networks and different things
Right.
like that. So it's not necessarily like because you work for ESPN, like people don't realize how big it actually is.
Right.
So that's usually my first thing. Is they're like, oh, you work for ESPN? Do you know such and such, such and such? Or it's like, do you get to work with X, Y, and Z, or how is this person, or how is that person? That's usually the question that I get. But in terms of like getting the research, is like how I kind of boil it down is like I'm kind of behind the scenes. I help sell the stories of either what's going on in the game, or help sell the stories of help back up the stories for what's going on in the segment. So if we're talking about bad North Carolina, like how can I help accentuate that with a graphic, a stat, a number to kind of help better tell that story along with what the analysts are talking about. I know we ran a segment, I want to say last year when North Carolina opened the season number one, and it was like, hey, they opened the season number one, then they went unranked for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But last year, the previous season, when they went to the title game, their record through 16, 17 games was about the same as it is right now. So can they get back to the title game this year? So like my job is to kind of help, like, okay, here's where they are right now, but based on either past presidents, past knowledge, past history, whatever, it's not necessarily indicative of what's going to go on in the future.
Right.
Or on top of that, it's like, okay, for instance, we're at Final Four. And a lot of times, like my research sometimes comes from, analysts having a question and are curious about something. And then it's my job to kind of either help them, like tell them like, yes, what you're seeing is actually correct, or you might be a little off base in your assertion. So I think, for instance, we were at Final Four and Reese had a question. He was like, hey, like, it looks like San Diego State's going on a lot of scoring droughts where they have a lot of empty possessions. They've gone 4 or 5 minutes without scoring. Like, he pretty much asked me, like, can you look at their longest scoring droughts in the game, compile that together, and give me a rough figure of roughly how much game time they've gone without scoring?
Wow.
And so I kind of scoured through the box score, added it up. It was roughly like 20 minutes of game time. And so when you think about it, 20 minutes, like that's half of a basketball game where they, in terms of when you added up all of their scoring droughts and their inefficiencies, times without field goals, like that's a lot of games. That's half a game.
Right.
And so then they're able to kind of use that on air and be like, hey, like they were in the game late, but had they not had these long stretches without scoring, they might have been able to put themselves in a better position to win.
Kind of walk me through or walk us through like your day to day. Like when you go to work every day. So obviously you're not covering a game every day,
Mm-hmm.
but you're doing a lot of preparation, right? for an
Yeah,
upcoming
so
game? Like, kind of walk me through your day-to-day routine as a researcher.
yeah, so it depends on the day. Like if I'm on a sports center, say, like the preparation obviously going to be a little different. Like if I'm on the 6 p.m. sports center, we're previewing what's going on, what's upcoming that night, or we're looking at like if there's some day baseball or some events coming up, or reacting to news. So like your day to day on a sports center might differ from me covering college game day on a weekend where okay, we're going to Florida this week. And because Florida's the top team, we're probably going to talk about Florida, the SEC a little bit, but then what other stories are ongoing either that week in college basketball or that weekend? There's probably two or three other top games that we probably need to turn our attention to.
Right.
So if we're specifically talking like my preparation for a week, I'll say game day. Usually on Sundays, between Sunday and Monday, I'll kind of put together an ideas email that I send to our coordinating producer, our producer of the show, the CP, and talent, just like, hey, here's some quick hitting nuggets about the week coming up. So where we're going, I'll send them some nuggets on the place that we're going to. Like the last time we went there, what their record is when hosting College Game Day, when we've been in attendance. Have they ever played a team that they're playing that Saturday on game day, or just some recent trends like, hey, they've dropped 3 of their last 4.
Right.
I think specifically when we went to Alabama, like the big thing was like, hey, they're in the middle of a stretch of playing 7 straight games against ranked opponents. So I kind of make sure that my producers, the CP, the talent kind of have that information going into the weekend. Like, hey, this is a tough stretch for this team. Can they sustain? Are they going to be able to be a contender down the stretch? Or is this maybe 3-game losing streak a blip on the radar just because they're playing tough opponents? So I kind of help disseminate that to kind of help them tell the story, to kind of build a shell of things that could be included in the show for that given week. And then I look at the rest of the slate of games for Saturday and kind of give them some notes on some of the other top games for the week. And then we wait for, then the producer kind of looks at that on that Monday or Tuesday, talks with talent to figure out what they're hot on. And then kind of as news happens throughout the week, a lot of that stuff will kind of get integrated within the show in addition to everything else.
How often do you sit at home when you're watching the shows that you work on and just be like, yeah, that's me. You got the facts from me, my brother. You know what I mean? Like how often you feel like that? And then the second part of that, do you when you watch other networks, and obviously they have research teams, so do you be like, man, they wrong or they whack? Like, is there a level of comparison? Do you guys kind of got like an inside, like little friendly competition thing going on?
I don't know if it's a level of comparison. I think it's more of like I can't turn it off.
Mm,
And that's the bad part of like when I'm off and it's supposed to be home, like not working.
right.
I'm still technically working. I don't think it's a level of comparison. It's just more of like I'm working
Yeah, I
even when
see.
I'm not working. Like I will notice like I might be watching the sports center and like there might be a small typo or like why did they use that video or why did this happen? Like
Right.
I'm more looking at it from that perspective, especially like when I watch games. Like I remember we used to in my old position in SNA, like we used to track games, and so I'm looking at like how many pass rushers are rushing the quarterback, like how far is this guy throwing the ball down the field? Like I'm looking at stuff like that as opposed to like enjoying the game.
That's
Um, so I really can't. I usually don't get out of that mode too often, which is really really hard to do. Is enjoy a game and not look at it from like an analytical or research perspective.
right.
But I will say a lot of times there are times where like you work on something and like a note that you sent to the crew gets used, and you're like, all right, like yeah, like absolutely. I feel like that's a given. Like I remember we were covering I think Jimmy V Classic in New York, and I don't think I was there for this. For the, I was there. I was there for Jimmy V, and like one of the Illinois kids was approaching the scoring record. Now it worked out that Jay Will
Mm,
holds the scoring record for most points in the Jimmy V Classic.
okay.
So it helped to sell it that one of our own analysts, who's also happened to be at the game,
Oh,
holds the record.
oh, okay.
And so he was sitting sideline, and I got it to the producer like, "Hey, you know, Marcus Damascus approaching his record." And I think Terrence Shannon, I think Illinois actually had 2 guys that scored 30 in that game. But I'm like, "Hey, both of these guys are approaching this record held by Jay Will, who's also there." So I think the talent ended up giving Jay Will some grief, like, oh, like, they're approaching the scoring record. Like, how do you feel about that? So like that was a kind of cool thing that they were able to do just based off of some of our information we were able to find.
How important do you see where, like, for me, right? Obviously with my background being in video and photojournalism, like it's one of the major parts of storytelling, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then you have sometimes the talent, and then you have some of these other things, you know. How important do you see what you do add to the value of storytelling?
I think it adds a lot, like especially
I
when there's a specific story that the talent or analysts are trying to tell. Like it immensely can add to it, especially when, excuse me, sorry, when like Seth Greenberg is doing a breakdown on Tyler Kolek and he's talking about how good of a passer he is, and I can give him a nugget that's like, hey, Tyler Kolek has assisted on 90 layups this season, the most in college basketball. Like he's getting easy baskets for his teammates. It's not necessarily just looking at, okay, he's averaging 8 assists a game, which is most in the Big East. It's like, no, like those 8 assists are actually leading to easy buckets. So he's, helping his teammates out. So like Seth has his breakdown, and then he can add this nugget in to help accentuate the story that he's trying to tell. So I think it adds to it immensely, as long as it's done correctly and in the right manner.
Is there a lot of pressure to your job?
Absolutely,
Like,
absolutely.
this man is easy, you know what I'm saying? All you got to do is, and
I mean,
then
like, look, you know how that is. Like I'll tell it to you like this. Like there are times where, especially on like college football Saturdays, like I'm in studio, game is on ABC. I'm doing ABC raps. My producer wants a graphic like leading into halftime.
sure,
And sometimes like you're watching the game, you're like, this game is terrible. It just doesn't lead to like any good stats. So
right,
now like you're trying to either put together something on the fly that can fit
sure,
or hope like something happens in this last 3 to 4 minutes of the half that's worth putting on screen to come so they can toss it from the game crew to studio so you have something good to run. Like
right,
that happens all the time. Or you're in an environment live and it's like, hey, I need this graphic or I want to run this, or this news broke about, this player signed with this team, and you have like 45 seconds to a minute to try to put together this graphic
right,
on this player because this news happened, and you kind of got to build it within 40, 50 seconds. So like it's more of like reps and different things like that. But I remember I think like game day we had found out like one of the, I think, Kentucky coaches was passing away, like an old time coach,
mm,
and we were gonna run something on the show about it, and it was like, hey, like I kind of had to put together a graphic on his career. I'm like, hey, I'm building this now. Now, granted, I had like an hour before showtime to do it, but again, like you kind of got to try to put together those facts as quickly as you can. Now, you might not be able to get the best facts in there. Like, oh my God, if I had 2 hours to think about this, I might have included this. But
right,
at least 3 to 4 nuggets that encapsulates this guy's career is helpful.
right. Because obviously, what you put out, because you guys are the standard when it comes to a lot of sports, that you understand that what you put out, and tell me if I'm wrong, usually gets trickled down to all your local sports people, and then it gets down to the podcaster, then it gets down to the bloggers, right? They're using the same facts that you took the time to do the research on.
For sure. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. I mean, and there's times where PACAs are scouring Twitter or different things like that, and they're like, "Hey, like I saw this tweet. Like, can we confirm this?" And so a lot of times it's like, "Sure, we can, but we want you to give credit to that entity that initially
absolutely.
gave you the information because it's just fair to them because they originally came up with the original content. So it's not fair to be like, okay, we confirmed this and now you're going to send this out and tweet this as your own. It's like, no, like give
Right.
them the credit that they deserve for finding the
Absolutely.
information.
Absolutely. Talk about being at all of these major events. Like, what is that like? We talked about it a little bit earlier, but kind of talk about what it's like being able to be physically at the events.
Um, Dude, it's funny. My wife tells me all the time because she's like, "You just like to be gone," and I'm like, "It's not necessarily that I like to be gone." I was like, I like to be in the mix. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like,
Yeah.
being able to travel for your job is probably one of the most rewarding
Agreed.
experiences and parts of your job. Now, granted, like, does it take you away from your home life? Does it take you away from, um, all these other things that you're used to doing?
Right.
But like, dude, it's so rewarding. And granted, it's tiring because for me on game day specifically, like, okay, because I go from college football right into college basketball,
Right.
typically I'm involved in some kind of postseason aspect with college football. So, for instance, like this past season, I got a chance to work the national championship. So,
Mm.
national championship was on, say, January 20th. Um, Game day first travel was January 27th.
Ooh.
So, granted, the job was like, hey, we want to try to give you time off. So they had like another researcher do the two shows that we did in Bristol, the first two Bristol shows. And
Mhm.
they were like, well, we can give the same researcher like that first travel show just to give you a week off. And I'm like, nope, like my crew's going to be on the road. Like I want to be with my crew because Reese also does college football and college basketball. So I'm like, if Reese is traveling, like let me own the assignment and be with my crew.
Yeah.
So like
Like you said,
I
my
got back, huh?
said my crew. Yeah.
Well, yes, that definitely is my crew. But I got back from national championship like Tuesday morning, Tuesday afternoon, and then I kind of started working on game day basketball stuff. Now, granted, I had kind of started working on that stuff a little bit when I had some downtime on Sunday and Monday before the title game, but it's just kind of like prioritizing, like, okay, like I got this stuff because a lot of times, like me and the other researcher on site for CFB, we were kind of working a day ahead. So I was like, all right, like if we get far enough ahead, then I can kind of spend some time devote some time to college basketball to send them just a couple ideas for the week. Like it's not going to be flushed out as I normally do it,
Right.
but at least I can send them a few things to kind of get the ball rolling, and then we can kind of hit the ground running
Yeah.
as we travel for the first week. But a lot of times, like, all right, so I got home on Tuesday, I'm doing things, getting prepared for that Saturday, and then I leave again Friday morning, usually at 6, 7 a.m., whenever that earliest flight is, just because we usually have a production meeting early afternoon once all the talent and everybody gets in, and then we have a show Saturday morning. So it gets pretty hectic, chaotic, just in terms of like timing, and like it's definitely not as easy. Like, oh, you just show up and have fun. Like, no, not. It's not really that. Like, as you know, because like
It's
it's a
not.
lot of work that goes into that. Like, granted, you try to take in the moment, and be in the moment, but it definitely takes a lot.
And kind of talk about that for me again. Like, how important is it for you when you said taking in the moment? You talked about just sometimes when they still putting the lines down on the field, man. You just go down there and just kind of suck in the moment that you ever just how you see on TV like they just walk into a middle of an empty field and you just walk it around, you just stare, you just do that little 360 turn. You ever done that? You just kind
Yeah, man,
of
it's just it's a natural thing. Like even no matter how many events that you do, how many events you get a chance to work, like I've always looked at sports, especially working on this side, like no two games happen the exact same.
nope.
And so, like, even though you're likely always going to have a winner and a loser, the way the game plays out, the way the game ends, like, is never going to be the same. And so, like, being at Final Four and, having, like, I got a chance to work with Dick Vitale a couple years ago, like, giving him cards, like, sitting next to him
And that's
on press row, like, something I couldn't have imagined doing. And the wild thing about it is, like, as much as you kind of want to fan out, like I try not to, but Vital was like, yo, like take a picture with me. And I'm like,
yeah, you like
okay, like, like sure, like absolutely. And so like he was just like super appreciative of everything I gave him. And then when he was doing like his Sports Center hits the next day, like he wanted to make sure I was there. And I was just like, yo, like, so it's just like the appreciation from the other side. Um, but getting back to the point of just taking it in a moment is just sometimes like you're there and you don't have anything specifically to do. You
mhm.
just kind of just go, do what you can. Like even when we were at SEC tournament, and I'm like, okay, our crew was covering the first two games. Like, all right, bet I'm gonna go cover these first two games, and then I'm gonna try to enjoy just go watch some basketball the last two games. And granted, I might be tired the next day, but
Right.
I'm gonna definitely try to enjoy my time while being here, or go get food from the location that we're at, or just do something. Just do something.
Do you remember your first major break when you got, so I know you say you worked your way up to being a researcher, but even when it comes out to travel, like being outside of your 9 to 5 workplace, what was your first major break that you ever got?
So my first event was 2019 Peach Bowl, and that was LSU Joe Burrow versus Oklahoma. Burrow threw 6 touchdowns in the first half. So he bought out, and so it was wild. Like it was great because again, like my first time being out of Bristol, figuring out like the remote life, figuring out like where I need to be, where I need to get my credential from, like
Yeah,
all of these things were new to me.
yeah,
And so luckily, like I was fortunate enough, like there was a researcher down at SEC, Jeremy Mills, like great guy. He was there because obviously with LSU being in the SEC, he was there covering for the conference, our conference network. And so he was kind of able to show me around, show me the ropes, of like, hey, like here's where you get your credential, here's where you do this, and here's the setup. Like he's kind of walking me through his process of like, okay, like make sure you go up to the set, and make sure you can connect to the printer in advance, or make sure you have everything that you need
right.
within your setup to set you up for success. Luckily, like that night, I was fortunate enough to have like had colleagues that were working remote or working back in Bristol, kind of helping generate content for the game.
Okay,
And so like I had pitched this idea beforehand about doing a pass plot chart for Burrow. Didn't realize how in depth and how much time it took to try to get it sent off to the design crew to get it updated and get it back.
right,
Something I kind of wanted to try to run at halftime. Timing didn't work out, but our crew that were covering the Fiesta Bowl that year ended up running it during their like pregame show.
okay,
So it ended up still getting used. It just didn't get used on our halftime, but just having the support back in Bristol, having the support elsewhere was like super beneficial because like you in those situations when you feel like a lot is happening, a lot of records are being broken, different things like that, you're not necessarily like trying to generate that all on your own.
right. Talk about the moment you felt like you you owned it. You know what I mean? As a just even as a researcher, right? So I know you said at the beginning you was like, "Hey man, I want to be on TV, want to be,
Mm-hmm.
George or whatever." And then you got the moment where you was able to just walk in the doors of ESPN, and then you got
Mm-hmm.
the moment where you became a researcher. Like, what was the moment that you just completely own who you are?
Dude, I think my time on like working with the college basketball game day crew, like week in and week out, like getting a chance to work those Final Fours, like dude, we do a 4 hour pregame show, like on that Saturday leading into the championship games. And so I'm like,
Uh,
that rundown. I mean, and I'm sure you working on the rundowns.
oh yeah, a 4 hour show, my brother. That is a lot. You talking
You
about a
dude,
lot of
you
content.
start seeing Q's, P's, like and you're like, yo, like what is this?
Yeah,
But like during those times, like you feel like you really own it. Like anytime that I can pitch something and talent are like, yep, like let's do this. Or anytime that you can like I can do a packet and the crew was like, hey, we should run something utilizing this. Like I remember one of my first game day shows before we started traveling, we were back in Bristol and Drake, the basketball team, was undefeated. And so I'm like, yo, like we should do and granted, like it was very corny. But I was like, yo, we should do something like with the crew, like asking them, like, did Drake the coach say this quote, or did Drake the rapper like using actual Drake quotes? And so it was like we pegged the segment like Drake versus Drake. And so like
that's cool.
went back and forth with Reese about it, and he's like, look, like we need to make the lyrics sound more coach speak. So we kind of had to like tweak the lyrics a little bit, but like the segment was kind of funny because it was able to get the team that was undefeated, and we were able to kind of talk about them around that. And so it was like a really cool, fun segment. And so like that was one of the ones that I'm like, all right, like it was a great pitch, or even times where we would do like when daily fantasy kind of had started popping off, and we would do like a daily fantasy type draft of like who's your most likely Final Four team. So it still gets like college basketball content in there, and the guys are able to talk about teams that they like.
Right.
But it added an element to it with the draft of like, okay, you have 5,000 to spend on these teams. How are you going to construct a 4 team Final Four within 5,000 and still make a compelling case for having actual Final Four teams? So things like that, I think were times where I'm like, all right, like when you're here pitching ideas and different things like that, because in your field, like having idea pitches and like, hey, we should cover this story is like that's
It's everything. That's
yes,
every
exactly.
level. literally see that at the table. I tell people all the time, like the moment that you understand that the stories that we cover starts with those meetings, and if you have a voice at that table in the meeting, and then your idea gets taken and an opportunity for your story to get covered, like that changes everything, man. It really. And then I mean, and then it's ownership. I mean, you now you're able to own what you able to pitch, man. It's everything. I love it. I love
For
it.
sure.
I love it.
And look, I ain't gonna lie, our edit team that puts together these custom cartoons and all these things, like, dude, they're amazing. Like, I don't get to work directly with them, but it's like, hey, we have this idea for this, and then we have like a AP that works with them to kind of help develop it, while I kind of handle some of the other stuff on the back end.
Yeah,
And then it comes up with like these great treatments. Like, I know a lot this past season we were doing like comparing Cooper Flag and Janai Broom and the race for the Wooden Award and how the odds had kind of fluctuated back and forth. And I was talking to AP about it. I was like, hey, like, he's like, hey, we should be able to do something compelling with this. And I was like, you're right, we should. I was like, whatever you do, just don't use player images, because that's a no right now, in the space. But
yeah.
I was like, what if we did like brooms, or like a broom for Janai Broom and then a flag for Cooper Flag or something like that. And then the group ended up coming up with
That's a good idea.
like race cars. And so it kind of was allowed them to kind of go back and forth. And
Yeah.
it kind of reminded me, remember the old Atari game, like what was it, pole position? It kind of reminded me of that game
Yeah,
where
yeah.
they kind of did this segment and it was back and forth. And then Reese kind of got into it when he voiced it over. And so it was a real cool way to kind of show that without showing it.
That is dope. How has so talk about, so kind of show me the comparison, right? Just so I know. So obviously with you been in it, you said 15 years now? A
A little over 15, yeah.
little over 15 years, man. So obviously AI wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
Google was, but you know how accurate is always that. So talk about, as a researcher, how much with the technology has really changed your day-to-day life now that AI is a thing. And
Yeah, man.
the air
It was,
quotes. I mean,
yeah, I know, right? Right. With the quote, right. So I mean, fortunately for us, like, we have a lot of databases that we utilize to get some information from. We have outsourced clients like Elias and Stats Reform and people like that that we can reach out to Google questions from. So a lot of times, but I will say, like, when you try to Google something now, it's like you kind of got to go the extra step just to kind of try to verify and make sure what you're finding is right. Like, I'll look at it like this now with like NBA draft prep. College guys, cool. I can knock those guys out, no problem. But then you start talking about the international guys. There's
yeah.
not a lot of information available on them. There's not a lot of data, so you're trying to figure out, like, okay, where these guys grew up, their hometowns, like different things like that. And you're trying to figure this all out before the NBA posts their NBA draft guide. And so, like, trying to put together prospects for some of those guys are difficult because all these leagues run, like, we had some draft prospects that were still playing in their respective league like a week up until the draft.
Oh wow.
So you're like,
Right.
it's hard to, finalize stats for some of those guys. Are like, hey, like, are they still playing in their playoffs, or what's going on? Like, I remember when Victor Wembanyama was selected number one, it was a similar situation. Like, I think his postseason ended like 3 or 4 days before the draft, and so, like, obviously he was able to be there. But yeah, with AI now, like, you just kind of got to be extra careful in terms of like where you're pulling the information from, because like you said, like, AI will pull bites and snippets of this and insert it into this, and it's like, well,
Sure, for sure.
you're just double checking.
For sure. So has it made it easier or just more complicated in your
Definitely more complicated. Definitely more complicated, for sure.
where your inspiration come from for just sports in general?
Oh man, I mean, you already know. Well, for me, granddad, huge. Like, we would go to sporting events all the time, and my mom, we would watch games. That's primarily where a lot of the inspiration comes from. Just watching, playing sports, and then our uncles, our cousins, Calvin and Brian, like, they played all the time growing up. So yeah, man, that's a lot of where a lot of that comes from. Is just more so going to events and being able to watch games, and then, as dynamic as Barry Sanders was, like, growing up in that era, like, it was phenomenal just to watch him. And then we had the Pistons back then in that era. So, and then them winning championships, like, that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool.
What sports did you play in high school, if you played any?
So I played a little bit of basketball.
Mm,
Not great. Played a little bit of baseball. But yeah, those are primarily the two.
okay.
Stayed away from football because I got one kidney, so my mom's like, no to football. Which I respected. Like, granted, back then it was like, yo, like just let me play. If he died, it was kind of like if he dies kind of thing. Back, because back then you ain't care. You was just like,
Yeah,
yo, whatever happens, happens. Right, exactly. But you respect it now. But yeah, I play a little bit of baseball, play some basketball. Obviously watch a lot of football. But what about you, Cuz?
Yep. So for me, man, it was I was a band head, man. I got my old band picture right here. And then basketball and track. I only did basketball earlier, man. So look, I'm 5'6". So basketball, my basketball career didn't last long at all. Didn't last long in high school. But I was a hell of a runner though.
Yeah,
My track was at a very, very decent track career in the high school. Wasn't I ain't win no state championships or nothing like.
yeah, no, for sure.
But I did the 200 hurdles and a couple relay teams, man, because I was still fast. I watched my son; he on the track team now, and I'm watching like, dang, that brother fast, man, just like his daddy, man. But so yeah, that was
So
it for me. But yeah, like I said, I was a band head, so I split a lot of my time between like marching band type stuff. You know, what I'm saying
can I ask you real quick? Has he tried you?
race, yes, still to this day, and I get them
Okay.
too. I get them. Now I be tired. I be like. Wheezing and this, but he still, and so he did. So my son do football. He's done. He's in the band, and then he do football, basketball. Well, he didn't really do a lot of basketball after he got to high school. He did wrestling and track, and
Okay.
so even when he joined the wrestling team this year, we in the living room. He wanted to show some new moves that coached and showed him. So now he want to.
Hmm.
Hey, Dad, can I try something? Oh my God, I'm about to break a bone.
Right.
So we in the living room wrestling, you know what I mean, trying to get it in. But I don't mind though.
Yeah.
I don't mind it at all though, man. But yeah, he be all into it. But yeah, that was it for me, man, in high school, man. So you know what I'm saying? I mean, I guess I asked about that inspiration, man, because a lot of times that's what pushes us through. Like you said, you working 16-hour days.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So does it how much further do you see yourself going with this?
Man, it's funny because I feel like I can't travel forever, but part of me is just like I want to do it as long as I can.
Wait, oh man,
Um,
you ain't 70.
no, I know, I'm not 70. And I think the thing too for me is like being able to like as much as like I'm like, all right, we go to Duke, we go to Carolina every year, but like we were able to kind of go to some new schools. We went to Florida, Houston, and Iowa State. So first time I had been to those schools since our show had been traveling. So that was kind of cool to kind of get that new blood in there. And of course, the wife was like, "Where y'all going this week?" And I'm like, "Why?" And, because sometimes like she'll tag them because I mean she works in sports too,
Oh,
which is hilarious. So we're both kind of gone
she works
a
at
lot
ESPN too.
during it. No, but she works at UConn, and so she does a lot of with the donor development, donor relations, and so she kind of puts on a lot of events for them
Gotcha.
during basketball, mostly during basketball season. So we're kind of in the same space of like, hey, hey, like, kind of back and forth. Dude, like, all right, where you at this weekend? Okay, cool. Like, we're going such and such and such.
Local power couple there, huh?
Yeah, man. Look, it's crazy because we were at. So I'm saying this quick story real quick. I know it wasn't part of what you asked me,
No, let's
but
go.
we were in Houston for the Final Four, and I think I saw her probably twice, and obviously UConn was there, and it was just because I was when we talked about like the long days, I was just like, look, like I love you and I would love to see you, but I just don't have. I feel like I don't have the bandwidth right now
Yeah,
to make time because again, like we talked about that Saturday show is like a 4 hour show, so I'm building a lot of graphics for this show. I want to make sure I'm in a good spot before I do anything
absolutely.
outside of. So I think that Friday night I think I got done at like 6 or 7, and I made time to go meet her for dinner, and then I saw her like between the two games on Saturday. But it was just hilarious. Like people were like, "You're in the same space and you don't see each other." I'm like,
Yo,
"Look, we do what we can, okay?"
right. But that's dope though that you guys. So at least there's a level of understanding because you both know how much work goes into. what you each other do, man. That's actually pretty dope. I didn't realize she worked in sports as well. I
Yeah, man, she got a couple championship rings upstairs. She be flat. Look, she talk about me in the Emmy, but she got a couple championship rings upstairs, and then the women just won, so she probably gonna get a third this year. So I'm like,
that's some power couple stuff. That's some like locally, at least within your area, you guys are some kings and queens then, huh?
I appreciate you guys. So
Yeah.
let me ask you. I know it's your podcast, but let me ask you
Yes,
like
sir.
what would you say was your how did you get your break in terms of like
You know what? So my biggest break came actually when I got to Detroit. So prior to that, I've been working in within the local news area for about 10 years.
mhm,
I started with a local NBC station, and then I spent like another 7 years with a local ABC station. So working for Disney at the first part until they got sold. Disney sold a couple stations off, and we was one of them. But
mhm,
yeah, so working 10 years there. I mean, my biggest break was really when I got to Detroit. So I worked for NBC station in Detroit.
okay,
That was really because they saw like what was within me, right? Not that I
mhm,
wasn't like doing that stuff at other stations, but they gave they gave a brother an opportunity, man. To really start covering stuff, and that was probably my biggest break is when I got there. I won my first award when I got to Detroit. Actually, a lot of awards I won. It wasn't until I got to Detroit. And it really just because they believed in me, man. They allowed me to do me. You know what I mean? They didn't. They
yeah,
didn't. They didn't. They didn't. They allowed me to just shine the way I wanted to shine. Saying
mhm,
that, some some photographers was like really run and gun. I don't know if you ever seen like the run and gun photographers just gonna throw it on their shoulder, shoot some stuff, shaky or not, they gonna bring it
mhm,
back. Cool, here we go. But me, man, I was like, man, I'm gonna bring my tripod out. I'm shooting this stuff nice and steady. I'm gonna still be quick, but I want my stuff to be clean. You know what I mean? When we doing interviews, they like, how much time we got for interview? Man, we got about 5 minutes. All right, give me 2 minutes. I'm about to set up some lights. I just need 2 minutes up some lights, stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And I get we on the deadline, but just so they allow me to take that extra mile. And they really appreciated that when we did our live shots. So usually in local news, a lot of times, man, and I know it's different on the national level. You guys got time to, you got a whole crew set the whole thing up. In local news,
yeah,
you got like minutes set up, not hours or days, right? You got minutes. So, you know what I'm saying? And during a regular day, we usually got about 3 stories that we have to produce per team, right? So
mhm,
not only we have to research the stuff and the producers have to get the stuff, we go get all the interviews and get all the video, and we have to sit and write it and edit it. You know what I'm saying? The process. So in the middle of all that, I wanted to make sure that we stop using stick mics. We using lavaliers, small things like that. Hey, stop using just the light on top of the camera. Let's set up a 3-point lighting situation real quick. And they really allow me to like my reporters and stuff allow me to really just allow me to put that little extra seasoning on top so it looks good and clean. And when they saw that I can do that within the same amount of time that people is running and gunning, yeah, and inside of my mind, I'm freaking out. I mean, I'm throwing extra net sounds into the packages. You're like, hey, how much time we got till we gotta go live? 5 minutes. Shit, I got this stuff real fast in the back of the truck.
yeah,
Just to make sure, but I really wanted the extra sauce, but they allowed me to do it, man. So
mhm,
and that led to them allowing me to go travel when major stuff happened. Unfortunately, there's usually a lot of bad stuff, so mass shootings and
yeah,
but I got a chance to cover a couple inaugurations, be able to see a couple presidents, man, and marches and all this other stuff that they was allowing me to see. But it's because they gave me a break. They
yeah.
believed in me, man. So that was probably the biggest, man. So yeah, and it changed my life. It allowed me um to see my own greatness. Sometimes you look in the mirror and be like, I got this. You know how I actually when was your moment you kind of feel like, yeah,
Yeah,
let me own this space that I'm in. And for me, it's like, let me dominate this road that I'm on right now, man. I'm gonna
for
be the
sure.
best that I can.
It's
Now I'm trying
it's
to inspire the others to do the same.
absolutely. It's funny that you say that because like I talk to Jay Will all the time, and he's like, "Look, like you're more than just a researcher on this show. Like you're a voice. You
Yeah.
know, we
Mm,
confide in you to obviously give us stats information to make us sound better. But like, if you feel like this might not be the best thing, like go ahead and speak up. Like,
yeah.
you be empowered to be more than just a researcher per se. Like, and so having those conversations with those guys and coach and RD and Jay Billis, like it's just funny, like when things happen in your life personally, and like I had to take time off when my grandma passed, and like
Mm,
Reese took time on the air to like, hey, like our thoughts and prayers are with Gilbert, like our researcher Gilbert, like things like that, like you kind of take for granted of like they don't necessarily have to do those things,
sure.
but because they care about you as an individual, as a part of the group and a part of the team, like it definitely means a lot. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, like I get that in terms of people
Family.
believing in you.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Family's a lot of people that throughout the years, man, that, for me at least, worked in different stations. Like whether I've known you for 5 years, whether we worked on the street for every day, you became like a big brother, man, a work wife, work husband, whatever, man, like because you you spend more time there than you do at home.
For
you know,
sure.
in a situation,
Sure.
you become a family, man. We had a at a ABC station I worked at, we used to call ourselves like we used to say this is the diversity row. Because at one point we're in the station, man, you had not only some of the black photographers and reporters, the few that was there, but you had someone, it's Hispanic, Asian, it was gay guy. It was just like this whole like all these in the middle of the station newsroom was just these all these pods in the middle, man. And we became this big family, you know what I'm saying? Because not only we were trying to represent who we are, man, but we were the best of the best. It felt good, man. It felt really good. It felt really good. Uh,
What
mhm.
what's the favorite story? What's the thing that you're most proud of in terms of what something you've done?
The thing I'm most proud
I
of.
know it's a lot.
You know what? It's hard for me to answer that because I I enjoy
Greatness.
I enjoy. You said what?
I said greatness.
I enjoyed every day though. Like every day, even though what I did was the same, but it was in different spaces. Like
Yeah.
I didn't necessarily have a favorite. And if I do have to pinpoint a few of them, it's probably going to cover President Obama's inauguration. Will
Yeah.
probably be actually I covered both of his inaugurations. That would probably be probably near the top of my list for sure.
That's fair. I,
But
I love how you said that because it's when you love what you do, it's hard to pick a favorite thing out.
it is hard. It is hard because I say like so. Think about on like if people's like, man, that's pretty dope. You got to go cover the inauguration. It was dope. You know what I'm saying? But on the other hand, that I've seen the amount of change that I was able to give to a family because we took the time to go cover their story, right? So a lot of times people go through these situations and they wouldn't people wouldn't see the light of day on them until it was able to air on the news. Now all of a sudden their story has value. You know what I'm saying? And people care. You know what I'm saying? And we've been able to make changes. So for me, it's like it's bigger than like going cover big events because locally, you know what I'm saying, even statewide, like we're able to make change. And so for me,
Mhm.
like if my story able to do that, like to me that's dope. That's why I said it's hard to really choose because if we don't put the light on something, like it stays in the dark forever. Like no one, for the most part, would not know whose person lives on Third Street, in the middle of somewhere. They don't
Yeah,
know who Mrs. Such and Such is, but until
absolutely.
some light on it. So for me, that's to me like that's the dopeness of what I do. Like I like you talking about every day. I took every day in like a separate day. I never really blended in a week. Like every day, I remember walking down the ramp. We had this big parking ramp in Detroit. Walking down the ramp every day, like all right, let's go get. I would talk to myself the entire time it took me to walk down all those flights, and then get in there. All right, look on the board, see what stories I got. All right, y'all, let's go. Like I'm ready. You know what I mean? And every day was a new day. You know what I'm saying? But that was me though, man. I loved it, man. I love it. That's why I love teaching it now. Right?
Yep.
I'm able to teach it. I love teaching it because I mean, like you said, I got a passion for. I got a passion.
Yeah.
I love it to death. You ever thought about
I,
what you do?
you said, have I ever thought about it?
Teaching what you do.
Not really.
Mm,
I probably could. Like I'll go back to Ferris State. Obviously where I graduated. I'll go back there. Dr. Allspaw used to always ask me to come back. I think she's retired now. So maybe they'll ask me to come back. Whoever takes over. But I would go back once every couple years. Just kind of speak to the students in the comm department up there. And
Okay.
I know I took the Emmy up there when we won it, and so like just to bring to the students to see like yo like this can be on no matter what level at some point if it's something that you aspire to do like you can do this too. Like I'm not necessarily special in any way. Like I started out part-time and worked multiple jobs.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate you.
Uh, yeah. But so quick question. So I see a lot of Michigan State stuff behind you. Where's your Ferris State stuff at?
I have a bulldog on my shelf over here. It's funny, I always get grief. My teacher always tells me, she's like, "You don't have anything fair." So she did send me a couple shirts. So I do have some Ferris shirts. But do I have anything Ferris or what? Yeah, my bulldog Brutus sits on my little shelf over there. So I do have Ferris State
Yeah,
stuff here.
I know, but Ferris won like what 3, 4 national
Hey,
championships.
hey now, yeah, yep.
Like they ain't no bums.
No, they doing it. They definitely doing it on the football field right now.
Yeah.
Definitely doing it, and it's funny because, of course, last year, speaking of like just being a homer, it was like, hey, like I'll write the D2 National Championship preview if you want me to. Who's gonna know more about the school than me? I got to.
All right, man. I don't want to. I know we So kind of wrapping things up. What do you tell people, man, when they again want to there's young people I'm sure that inspire talking about going back to your um um where you graduated, kind of inspired to be in sports in general. What do you tell them that so that they're broadening their minds about just being open about being in sports? Because a lot of times I'm sure they just want to be on TV too.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's funny. Like I literally talked to a cat probably an hour or so before we got off the phone, and one of our camera ops that works on GameDay, he was like, "Hey, like, you mind talking to one of my kids from back home? Like, he's interested in whatever. Like, just kind of give him an outlook on what you do because like he does cameras. I do research.
Hmm.
I think the biggest thing is like just having an open mind, man. It's like, granted, you might have a specific path that you want to do, whether it's working, behind the camera or working in front of the camera. Sometimes like working in front of the camera isn't necessarily the thing for everybody. Like not everybody's going to get to do it, or it's going to take a ton of work, whether it's going to a broadcasting school or different things like that. Which I'm not saying it can't be done.
Right.
It's just a little harder to do for most people. But like for me, it's like, okay, how can I get my foot in the door? And then once I got my foot in the door, then you can kind of make some moves to maybe like, okay, I like this. So I might want to steer more towards this, or oh,
Right.
I kind of like this. Like, okay, there's a lot more opportunity once you get
Yeah,
in the door as opposed to like being on the outside looking in and
sure.
maybe not having the resume that stands out. And granted, like networking, like having friends in high places, like I had a friend that worked in the company, and so I went to the conference, NABJ,
Right.
going to conferences, different things like that. Like networking there is a major thing. Now, granted, like it costs to go to some of these conferences, but a lot of times, like you can get scholarships through school, you can get scholarships through the conference to attend. I think when the year that I went as a volunteer. And so I didn't have to necessarily volunteer the entire time, but I volunteered for a day, day and a half, or whatever. Then I had access to the conference the rest of the time
Yeah.
and was able to go network throughout that. Um, there's so many different avenues. Like there's a guy that I know, I met down in Auburn, and we still connect and talk. And when he came up here to do some stuff, he ended up staying with me. And so it's just hilarious, man. Like I talk to a lot of people all the time, and it's not necessarily like, oh, I'm interested in doing this. I'm like, look, like you might have to start out part time, maybe doing something that you're not necessarily the most interested in doing, but just to kind of get your foot in the door, and then you can kind of have some avenues to figure out, like, okay, like there's more opportunities internally than there are externally.
I want to wrap it up on this, man. What's your favorite food?
Favorite food? These tacos that we had in Barcelona.
How different was it? Like what made them so like amazing?
Because they were the most authentic tacos that we had. Now, mind you, now we got some good tacos back home.
For sure.
No disrespect.
For sure.
Got good tacos back home. But look, it was cilantro, meat, and that was it.
Oh,
Like, and they were the most seasoned tacos
somebody
I
grandma
had
in the
ever.
back room.
Yeah, man. Like the joints was good. Like, and I asked for cheese, and they're like, no, they don't come with cheese. And I was like, all right. They look, tacos is fire. Um, but no, like, what is my favorite food? Like soul food, obviously, is a given. But yeah, I'd say them tacos is definitely fire.
Okay. Okay.
Or Italian. Why? What you got? What's your favorite food?
Chinese food all day.
Tiny, really?
Chinese food all day.
Okay.
I do chicken fried rice, maybe some orange chicken, and beef and steak and broccoli, man. I eat that all I can eat that every day of my entire life. I eat Chinese food. Usually every Friday I get Chinese food.
Every Friday. Okay.
Friday.
Funny story about Chinese. Is this a spot up the street? So me and the wife used to go to this spot when we lived in Middletown. We used to go to this spot all the time. So fast forward, we're here in Manchester. Look for a new spot, found a place. Now I go there. Now the wife doesn't like it as much as I do, but I go there and get the same thing: sweet and sour chicken. I get a little brown sauce on the side with a veggie egg roll. Cool. The wife went to place the order a couple weeks ago. She called. She was like, oh, sweet and sour chicken, because she ended up ordering two. The lady knew my order, and she was like, is that your husband that orders the sweet? And I was like, yo. She was like, of course, the wife is like, that's your girl, like your girlfriend knows your order. I'm like, I get the same thing all the time.
The same thing happened to me all the time. I'd be like, what's going on, man? He'd be like, hey, same. Yeah, same. All right. Hey, Jamal. All right, good, good. It's like, dang. One day I forgot my wallet at home. He like, I'll see you
Okay.
next week. I was like, nah, I'll go to the store. He, no. I'll see you. I'll see you next week.
Like, you'll be back. Don't worry.
I was going every Friday since like COVID,
That's
like
hilarious.
consistently. Like he knew my walk in. Everybody be looking like, who this dude? Like,
That is hilarious. So I'm about to send you a picture of these tacos offline, just so you could,
that
like, literally, they were the most basic tacos, but they were fire.
they were fire. I
Um,
believe it. Funnest place you ever traveled?
Finally, like, I'm going to say being in Italy.
Really?
Um,
I've never been. Never been.
so this was like this past trip. We decided to do a Europe trip,
Yeah.
and we were there for El Clasico. And so Barcelona and Italy played their Barca and Real Madrid played their famous soccer match, and we were there in Barca during the time of the match. And it was like, dude, everybody had their jerseys on. Like, it was an amazing experience, like being within the culture during that time of like, yo, like, granted, like, of course, this is like Red Sox, Yankees here of like rivalries and different things like that. But like, literally, everybody had on jerseys, like going to either the match or going to a bar to watch the game. Like, it was pretty dope.
Like how you
It
see
was
it
pretty
on
dope.
TV, just like the whole community, like the whole
Yeah.
going on.
Like,
Dope. That's dope. Yeah, we plan on going to Dubai in March. That's probably the
no.
yeah,
Okay.
that was on my bucket list. And then I got Africa's on my bucket list. But as far as my favorite travel, man, it's gonna have to be Jamaica, man. We
Really?
love going to Jamaica. Like the people was so dope to us, man. Like
Jamaica was okay to Jamaica was okay for us. It was all right. It wasn't top of the
yeah,
list. Like, we
really.
probably, yeah, I mean, it was fine. Like, maybe it was the
Okay, so
time of year we went.
the place was okay, but the people, man.
Yeah, no, people definitely make it great.
I give you like the place is cool, the food is great, you know what I'm saying? It's not like, what I mean, but the people was fantastic. Yeah, Cancun was fun. We take a lot of cruises too though. So we visit a lot of places via cruises too though.
You think what was our favorite? Like, Aruba was dope, but that was honeymoon, so that don't really count. Turks and so look, for me, Aruba, man, look, hey, I ain't gonna lie, Aruba was definitely one of the best vacations we've had, but like,
Mhm.
it was special. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So it's like, yo, like, that's always gonna be up there.
I got you.
That's always gonna be up there. But I think Turks definitely is probably on the list of
Yeah,
Turks and
that
Caicos.
was great. Yeah, 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 yeah. That's why I said we take a lot of
Turk.
cruises. So a lot of those we only be there for like a day or so. So
Yeah,
imagine, but Turk and Caicos was fantastic.
Turks and Caicos. We got St. Martin coming up in September.
Okay.
But that's my birthday, so
You
gotta
travel a
go
lot?
for it. We try to get one, at least like one trip a year, and we
Okay.
might try to squeeze in two. Like if we can squeeze in something in either December or January between football and basketball, we might try to do something.
That's
And
dope.
then if not, we'll do it in like May. What about y'all? Because like we just trying to figure out seasons.
Same. Yep. Yep. So we usually try to do one as a couple, one as a family. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
We usually try to separate them if we can because they're separate trips. We never try to live within us when we do a family trip. It's a family trip or a family cruise,
Yep.
and we ain't gonna be able to go live like how we want to live. But just you know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
all family stuff. We take the tours. Even when we going just stuff within the states, man. Like we always try to go to a museum or try to go
Yeah.
see. Let's go eat local. We never eat anywhere national chain. No, we ask the guy to desk, hey, where you go to lunch at? Like
Yeah.
I don't want to eat at Texas Roadhouse or whatever.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I can get that back home.
Like
Right.
we try to go to hole in the walls per se or local joints, visit
Yeah, man.
local museums, see the you know what I'm saying. We try to do a lot of that, and we try to go somewhere different every year. We try. You know,
Yep. Same. Same.
Minnesota. We went to Portland, Maine. You know, what I mean? Like stuff like this. Like we try to go different places. Like we never try to go the regular Orlando, Florida, Chicago.
Right. Right. Right.
Those,
Yeah.
those places. We went. We've been to Disney World twice. We crossed
Yeah.
it off the list. All right, it's done. It was overrated. It was done.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So we as a family, we really try to travel different places. You know, go to LA so we can see you now. You know what the West Coast look like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We go to DC every year because my sister there. But you know what I'm saying? I really try to open their eyes and expose my kids to a lot of different
For
places.
sure.
Yeah. So
Absolutely, man.
anything
Absolutely. Hey,
leave us with though?
nah, man. I appreciate you. Invite me on to come chit chat with you, man. It's probably a long time coming.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, we need to kick it. I'm gonna start calling you on the biweekly, man. I wanna make sure I check in on you, man. Make sure you do good. I do appreciate it. And I want to say I'm proud of you too, man. I mean,
you
really
too, man.
proud of man. You have inspired me because you're a one thing that I respect about people is this when they are consistent. You're consistent, man. I appreciate that, and you work your butt off, my brother. And I just want to. If nobody told you today, I'm proud of you. I am. Yep, and keep it
Proud
up.
of you too, cuz
And I know
I
it's hard to
appreciate you.
always hold up the mantle. I know it's hard to probably be in that position. I didn't ask you this, but are you one of few of African American employees, or is it not like that really where you are? Is it a kind of
So we've got a few. It's probably not as many as we would like, but we have one that just got promoted to manager. So that's cool. And in our old department, we have one in a management role and then a few sprinkled in throughout. And then my good friend Brian Beasley, he's actually over in Wimbledon right now covering the tennis event right now. So that's like major. He's over there for what 2 weeks, give or take. So that's a long time for him. So I mean, we have a few. It's probably not, it's never as many as you would like, just because of numbers and different things like that. But
it just makes it hard though, right?
yeah, no, for sure, for sure.
Okay. But yeah, so that's why I said what I said because I understand that you doing what you're doing is not easy in even looking at it on face value, but on the other end, knowing that you have to be three times greater than the next man, right? So I just know that
For sure.
it takes a lot, man. So
Same to you, cousin.
this is the longest I'm sure. I know we went back and forth on some DMs sometimes, man, text messages or whatever, man, but it was good talking to you, man. You need to get some Ferris State stuff in your background, man. So when you do your
I'm
Zoom
gonna,
calls, people
I'm
know.
gonna, I'm gonna get on that. It's funny when we moved here and I got the basement. Like I was like, oh, like I just want to semi have a small man cave, and it's funny because one of my guys at work just got so ESPN had a little sale, and so they were selling off some of their old merchandise that they've had from events, and he got me um almost like a plaque of like a bunch of Champions Classics. So they
Mm,
were pre me taking over game day, so there weren't any I actually wore. but I've still worked on the events, so it's cool. And Michigan State is obviously part of Champions Classic, so I'll definitely put it up somewhere.
That's
But
dope.
no, because you're 100% correct, man. It's definitely long overdue, and obviously we have our sectors of the family that are intertwined but
I know.
separate. But no, it's always good, man. I mean, look, we always looking out to see what the other one is doing, man. So it's always good to see you doing what you're doing too, man. And I'm proud of you and
Same.
all the credentials you got in the back.
That's it. I know, right? It's overrated, but I appreciate it. I'm gonna learn to say thank you. So, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and stop this.
All right, Pezzo.
Welcome to B-Roll Matter Podcast. This is a show that dives into the art of storytelling through video and audio and its impact through various fields. I'm your host, Jamal Bransford, and today we set to uncover the power of storytelling through a whole new light.